about the deceit that's going on and the real puppet masters behind the government. Um, it's just a really incredibly sad and terrifying state of affairs. And it couldn't have come at a better time, Michael, this movie, What in the World Are They Spraying? Because we're at a point now where we're starting to break away from that parental kind of handhold that we've had on the powers that be. It's like for centuries we've needed to hold the hands of some higher earthly constituent or power, and now we're realizing that all the power, it starts in us, and now our numbers are growing. I think it's perfect time for this movie. I think it's a really sad state of affairs, though, that these elected officials are the ones that are abusing their power. It's really quite sad. I do want to talk about the implications on both health and environment here. I know that you were in contact with some people in Shasta County and a group of scientists there that started looking into the ground and water samples that they had taken that had showed very high levels of aluminum. Can you maybe talk about that group and go on to tell us what they found?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we actually went to Northern California, and it was very interesting because several years ago, the scientists in that area started to notice that things were dying. Trees were dying, plant life were dying, and they started wondering why. So they started testing the soil for pH changes, and what they had found were pH changes that had increased in alkalinity anywhere between 12 to 15 times the normal amount of alkalinity. So they began to question why and started testing rain and snow. And what they had found was deeply shocking: enormous amounts of aluminum, barium, and strontium. Again, aluminum oxide was the proposals for geoengineering programs. And we're not talking just about minute amounts of aluminum, and I can tell you essentially how much. About 8 years ago, a test was taken on the side of Mount Shasta, and they found 7 parts per billion aluminum, which was high. That amount increased several thousand percentage points in a 7-year period to 61,100 parts per billion. So during that time, we've seen a tremendous increase in the aerosol activity over that area. And again, aluminum oxide will change the pH of soils from acidic to basic. And everybody that knows about basic science realizes that plant life that requires an acidic soil will start to die when the soil pH increases. Exactly what we're seeing.
Right.
So very concerning to the people up in that area, and very concerning because, of course, aluminum oxide, barium, and strontium is very toxic to human health as well. So,
yeah, exactly. And of course, the organic natural seeds that once flourished in the area are no longer being able to grow and develop.
Absolutely. And I guess we can talk about our trip to Hawaii. In the second part, after Northern California, I was contacted by a group in Hawaii who lives on an organic farm, and they said, we're getting sprayed like roaches out here in Maui. We want you to come out and investigate. So we went out to the organic farm and stayed out there for about 5 days, and it was really a beautiful place to live in a beautiful life that the people had there, because there was a group of about 12, 14 people who lived on this farm, and they grow their own food. They're not dependent on corporations, and it was very interesting because the first day I woke up, after sleeping in my little grass hut, I woke up and I was kind of hungry, and I said, where can I get food? I didn't know that there were no stores where we were going, and they said, it's all over. Just go out to a tree and pick what you want.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not sure if I know how to do that. Could you show me what to pick? So,
right.
And the reason that I bring that up is it's a very free lifestyle that they live. They're not dependent on grocery stores, food. They work a couple hours a day, and then they sing songs and really have a free lifestyle. During that trip, though, we spoke to them, and they're having declines in the natural organic yields that they're getting from their crops.
Yeah.
So during that time, we had learned that organic foods around the world are not getting the yields that they once got, but we also learned that there is a new GMO aluminum-resistant seed that's been developed, and the concern and the belief, not only amongst me, but people who are aware of this issue, is this, that this might be in part an agenda to literally toxify soil so that nothing will be able to grow without these new aluminum-resistant GMO seeds. So what we believe it is, in part weather modification, which I'd like to talk about in a little bit, but it could be in part an agenda by these corporations and governments to literally control the entire food supply. So it was a very beautiful place that we stayed, but I kind of left brokenhearted because, I was thinking about, 5 years if the spraying continues, or even in 3 years, if these people can't grow their foods, what is their lifestyle going to be like? And if they have to go to corporations for their seeds, what are the requirements going to be for that? And the answer is this: their freedoms will be taken away from them because they will not be able to live independent, free lives. So deeply concerning for many of us, and, it's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting also to note that so many people don't even realize that they can also live that same lifestyle off the grid because that information has been lost so much because of the commercial homogeny that has taken over much of the world over the last century, and really beginning in the Industrial Revolution with the moves from rural to urban growth. And to see this pristine community, one of the very, few in this part of the world that exist in beautiful Hawaii, to see the coconut trees, the bark on the coconut trees just falling off at a pinch, and knowing that this paradise, this Eden, if you will, is threatened by a group of human beings who have sinister, what it would seem like are sinister motives behind spraying these aluminum and strontium and other chemicals into the air. It really blows my mind. And it breaks my heart. Like you said, it broke your heart to know that this is going on. The scariest part is that some of the top scientists in the world, going into weather modification, I want to segue into that, is that most of the scientists agree that the idea of geoengineering should be averted when it comes to this idea of aerosol spraying. And yet, probably 99.5% don't even know that there's really a program underway already.
Well, there absolutely is. And again, we proved that the fallout from these programs cannot be disputed. And again, we've seen profound changes since the trails appeared in ecology and in human health. And of course, our weather, which you were going to segue into, we've seen incredible changes in our weather. And this is believed to be part of the HARP program, which not only has capabilities to control the weather, but also to produce earthquakes. So it can have military applications. And the HARP program requires metal particulate to be in the sky. And what it does, it emits a frequency into that metal particulate. And what they can do is heat up various parts of the ionosphere and thus alter jet streams. Barium, which can be used for imaging, can also be used to sequester moisture in clouds. So typically when we see storms coming into the West Coast, and we're now in drought conditions here, we see these airplanes which are seeding the clouds and essentially sequestering the moisture, and we don't get the rainfall. We're down about 50% here in California. However, we see in the Midwest and the East Coast tremendous drought or tremendous downpours in flood conditions. Exactly what geoengineers stated would happen if these programs had been started. However, we know that they already have been. So a lot of people question, why would somebody want to control the weather? Maybe they have good intentions. Well, if you look at this, we do know that we have groups that want to literally control the entire food supply. We had Henry Kissinger that said, if you want to control nations, control the oil. If you want to control the people, control the food. So these people, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, these people who call themselves the elite, even Bill Gates, who, by the way, is a heavy funder in the geoengineering program and does have a family history of sponsoring eugenics programs. I'd like to talk about that perhaps when we discuss human health implications.
Yeah.
But these people have an agenda, and it's to literally control, I believe, everything that was at one time natural and organic and bring it under their authority. So it looks like it's what many different religions are prophesying. I believe the Bible calls it the beast, this corporate governmental conglomerate, which literally wants to control the weather, control the food supply, and control everything that was once under, again, the dominion of our Creator and what was at one time natural. And it's very interesting because you look back for thousands of years, when people needed rain, they prayed to their God for rain. Mm-hmm. What's happening now? When nations need rain, what they're going to have to do is call up companies like Raytheon and say, hey, we need rain. And Raytheon's going to say, well, you got to worship me. You got to pay me money.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's all part of this new world order agenda, world government agenda. Mm-hmm. And what they're trying to do, essentially, is get globalism, world government, and everything under their authority. So they're using weather as a weapon, and we even have military documents, which we covered in the film, one which was called Owning the Weather by 2025. And also we have many of these people talking about population reduction and controlling the food supply. So they literally want to be worshipped by everybody. It's this usurping of authority.
Man, how much power? How much power do these people need? I don't understand. It baffles me. I must be like a subspecies or a separate species of human being, people like you and me, because I can't relate.
Yeah, I can't relate either. And for a lot of people, it's beyond their comprehension. But it's very interesting because I always say perhaps we can compare this desire for power or the rush for power maybe to a drug addict who chases drugs and compromises their health and the health of people around them for that rush of a drug. And I think I don't chase power either. I chase truth. I want people to remain sovereign and I stand for freedom and those other things. But we do know that there are people that hold different values. Very hard for people like you and I and many of your listeners to relate to because we're typically, I think, essentially good people. But there are some very evil people out there who do have these agendas and which are not in our best interest. Yeah,
it absolutely blows my mind. One of the other weather implications that I'm kind of concerned about, ecosystem problems, by spraying these aerosols is a depletion of ozone. Maybe you could talk about that, because I wasn't really sure how deep that really went.
Absolutely. And again, I'll bring you back to San Diego, where geo-engineers were saying, we don't really want to do stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, the aerosol spraying in the sky, but we may have to save you from the supposed threat of global warming. So one of the serious risks that they were very open about was ozone depletion, and of course we've seen a tremendous depletion of our ozone layer, and it's very concerning to those of us who stand for nature and understand that the Earth can heal itself if there is any threat. However, they continue the spraying, they're continuing to devastate ecology, human health, and then our protective layer around the Earth. So it's very, very concerning. However, we know that there's a lot of money, we know that there's a lot of power involved in these programs and a lot of political and monetary interest.
Yeah. So, I know the atmosphere is it's basically like a layer of paint on a bowling ball. It's so thin. What kind of program has to be in place to do serious damage to the ozone, or do we have any idea?
Well, these programs right now, just the aerosol spraying in general, definitely is depleting the ozone. And then we believe and understand that the HARP program actually creates holes in the ozone layer. Yeah. So in their attempt for quest and power, they're literally destroying the very things that are protecting us. So it's these programs are run by insane scientists, people perhaps who want to chase this comfort or this desire for power, and it's really, essentially, I think, is controlled by the hands of those who control the banking system, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the people who have openly discussed, their desire to create global governance, the new world order. Yeah, exactly. Now let's just lay it down for everyone that's listening. This whole proposal, quote unquote, of spraying aerosols into the atmosphere, it's supposed to protect us and future generations from a planet, facing the problem of global warming.
But as we look closer, and especially with people who see your movie,